Captain Lee Daeho stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars through the wide window. Each star looked peaceful, but he knew better. Half of those lights were already gone, eaten by machines that moved across space like a hungry storm. His communication officer turned around. "Captain, we have an urgent message from the Coalition Council." Lee pressed a button on his chair. The hologram showed Admiral Kang Tae-woo, his blue skin looking pale with worry. Behind him, other alien leaders sat around a large table. Their faces all showed the same thing: fear. "Captain Lee," Admiral Kang began, "we need to talk." "How soon can you reach the council station?" 2 days, sir." "Is it about the Devourers?" The Admiral nodded slowly. "They've taken the Helix system. 12 billion people gone in 3 hours. At their current speed, they'll reach our core worlds in 3 months. Lee felt cold. The Helix system had the best defenses in the galaxy. If it fell that quickly, nowhere was safe. 2 days later, Lee sat in the council chamber. The room was huge, with seats for representatives from hundreds of worlds. Now only 50 seats were filled. The rest belonged to worlds that no longer existed. Dr. Park So-min sat next to him. She was the Coalition's best expert on alien life, and one of the few people who understood the Devourers. Her hands shook slightly as she looked at the datapad in front of her. "Tell me the situation," Lee said quietly. So-min took a deep breath. "We've lost 40% of Coalition space in 6 months. Every weapon we have bounces off their ships. Every strategy fails. They're not just destroying us, they're learning from us. Each battle makes them stronger." Admiral Kang stood up to address the council. "Fellow beings, we face extinction. Our scientists tell us we have perhaps 90 days before the Devourers reach Earth's sector. Then the core worlds. We've tried everything. A tall alien with 6 arms raised one of them. What about the weapon research on Titan base?" "Destroyed last week," replied Dr. Park So-min from her seat. "The Devourers adapted to our quantum torpedoes in minutes." "The psionic defense grid?" asked another. "They consumed the entire psychic core on Mentara Prime." The chamber fell silent. Lee had never seen so many different species look exactly the same way. They were all terrified. Ambassador Yu Ji-hai finally spoke from the human section. She was small compared to most aliens in the room, but her voice carried clearly. "There might be one option we haven't considered." All eyes turned to her. Humans were new to the Coalition, and most species still saw them as primitive. They had no special powers, no advanced technology, nothing that made them stand out. "What option?" Admiral Kang asked. "My homeworld, Earth." The chamber erupted in confused voices. Lee heard several aliens laughing. One of them, a creature that looked like a giant insect, clicked loudly. "Humans?" the insect being said. "They barely have space travel. What could they possibly do that we cannot?" Ji-hai stood up slowly. "That's exactly why they might help. You're all thinking like civilized beings. The Devourers are machines. They follow patterns, logic, rules. They've beaten every civilized response because they understand civilization." Dr. Park So-min leaned forward in her seat. She had studied humans when they first joined the Coalition. "Ji-hee, your people are brave, but they're still primitive compared to the Devourers." "Are they?" Ji-hai asked. "Tell me, Dr. Park, in all your studies of the Devourers, have you found any record of them facing a species like humans?" So-min thought for a moment. "No. Every species they've encountered was either highly advanced or followed predictable evolutionary patterns. But humans survive things that should kill them," Ji-hai continued. "They adapt to environments that destroy other species. They fight wars that last centuries and still find new ways to hurt each other. Most importantly, they're completely unpredictable." The insect being clicked again. "Unpredictable doesn't mean effective, doesn't it?" Ji-hai pulled out a small device and projected images into the air. "This is human military history. They've fought wars with sticks, with chemicals, with nuclear weapons. They've won battles by pretending to lose. They've survived ice ages, plagues, asteroid impacts, and each other." Admiral Kang studied the images. "These are impressive, but the Devourers have never faced anything like this," Ji-hai interrupted. "Look at this battle." She pointed to one image. Humans with primitive weapons defeated an enemy with advanced technology by doing something no logical being would do. They set their own city on fire and fought in the flames. The chamber was quiet now. Everyone was looking at the images of human warfare. It was messy, brutal, and made no sense to most of them. Dr. Park So-min stood up. Gee, even if your people could help, would they? They're not part of this war. Why would they risk their world for us? Jihi smiled, but it wasn't a happy smile. Because someone asked for help. That's all humans need to hear. They'll come running into a fight that's not theirs against enemies they've never seen for people they barely know. That's insane, said the insect being. Yes, Jihai agreed. That's exactly my point. Admiral Kang looked around the chamber. The other species were whispering among themselves. Finally, he spoke. The human representative makes an interesting argument. However, contacting a primitive world about our situation could cause panic. Could it be worse than extinction? Lee asked from his seat. The Admiral paused. No, I suppose not. He turned to Jihi. Ambassador, if we decide to contact your world, how do we approach them? Honestly, she said. Tell them the truth. Tell them the galaxy is dying and you need help. But be prepared for their response. What do you mean? Humans don't ask about the odds when someone needs help. They don't ask if they can win. They ask two things. Where's the enemy and how fast can we get there? Admiral Kang looked at the other council members. We will vote. All in favor of contacting Earth? Slowly, hands and appendages rose around the chamber. It wasn't unanimous, but it was enough. Very well, the Admiral said. Captain Lee, take a small diplomatic ship to Earth. Dr. Park, you'll go with him to handle first contact protocols. As the council meeting ended, Jihi walked over to Lee and Somin. I should warn you about something, she said quietly. What? Lee asked. I voted yes because the galaxy needs to survive. But I know my people. When they come to help, everything will change. The galaxy might survive, but it won't be the same galaxy you're trying to save. 3 days later, Captain Lee's small ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of a yellow star system. The third planet was blue and green, covered in clouds. It looked peaceful, almost primitive. Begin scanning, Lee ordered. Captain, his communications officer said, I'm picking up thousands of signals from the planet. Radio, television, digital networks. They're very active for a primitive species. Dr. Park So-min looked at her readings. Energy signatures all over the planet. They're using nuclear power, chemical rockets, electromagnetic communications. It's like they're trying to do everything at once. Send the message, Lee said. His ship broadcast a simple signal toward Earth. People of Earth, this is the Galactic Coalition. We come in peace. We need your help. Within hours, the responses came flooding back. Not from one government, but from hundreds of sources. Military bases, universities, amateur radio operators, even children with homemade transmitters. All asking the same questions, who needs help? Where are you? How can we reach you? Lee looked at Dr. Park So-min. Jihai was right. They didn't ask if they could win. They asked how to help. So-min stared at the communication readings. Captain, I think we just changed everything. General Kim Min-ho walked into the emergency meeting room in Seoul. The world's leaders had been talking for 3 hours about the alien message, but they couldn't agree on anything. Some wanted to hide, others wanted to ignore it, and a few thought it was all fake. Enough, Min-ho said loudly. Everyone stopped talking. I've read the reports. These aliens are real and they're dying. The only question is how fast we can help them. The President of the Americas leaned back in his chair. General, we know nothing about space warfare. How can we possibly help beings who are thousands of years ahead of us? The same way we always help, Min-ho replied. We figure it out as we go. Dr. Cho Hye-jin entered the room carrying a thick folder. She was Earth's smartest physicist and had been studying the alien data for 2 days straight. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep, but she looked excited. I've analyzed their technology, she announced. It's amazing, but it has problems. What kind of problems? Asked the Chinese premier. They build everything perfectly. Their ships never break down, their weapons never miss, their shields never fail. Everything works exactly as designed. The room was quiet. Finally, the Russian president spoke. That sounds good to me. Dr. Cho shook her head. It's terrible. Perfect things can't adapt. When something unexpected happens, perfect systems break completely. These devourer machines beat the aliens because they're also perfect. It's a battle between two types of perfection. General Min-ho smiled. And humans are anything but perfect. Exactly. Look at this. Dr. Cho opened her folder and spread out papers. The aliens' battle reports show the same pattern every time. They make perfect battle plans. The Devourers analyze the plans and counter them perfectly. The aliens lose. So what do? Asked the Japanese Prime Minister. We don't make plans, Dr. Yer, Cho said. We make chaos. 3 days later, Major Baek Soo-jin stood in front of 50 alien soldiers. They came from 12 different worlds and looked like nothing she had ever seen. Some had fur, others had scales, a few glowed in the dark, but they all stood at perfect attention and waited for orders. Today we learn human fighting, she told them through a translator device. First lesson. Sometimes you have to break the rules. A tall alien with 4 arms raised one of them. Major, we don't understand. Rules exist for good reasons. Breaking them causes chaos. Yes, Soo-jin agreed. That's the idea. She pointed to a training course set up behind her. This is designed to be completed in exactly 12 minutes using standard coalition tactics. Your people have run it 1,000 times and always finish in 12 minutes. The aliens nodded. They looked proud of their consistency. Today, you'll run it in 8 minutes, Soo-jin continued. Impossible, said an alien that looked like a walking tree. The course requires exact timing and coordination. You're right. It's impossible if you follow the rules. Soo-jin picked up a large hammer. So we changed the rules. She walked over to the training course and smashed a hole through one of the walls. The aliens gasped. One of them started to protest, but Soo-jin held up her hand. In human warfare, if there's a wall in your way, you go through it, under it, over it, or around it. You don't stand there waiting for permission. An insect-like alien clicked nervously. But the course designers put that wall there for a reason. The course designers aren't trying to kill you, Soo-jin replied. The enemy is. The enemy doesn't care about the course designers' reasons. Meanwhile, engineer Nam Won-sik was working in the Coalition shipyard. He stood inside the engine room of an alien warship, shaking his head at what he saw. This is beautiful, he told the alien engineer next to him, and completely wrong for fighting. The alien, who had blue skin and 6 fingers on each hand, looked confused. This engine is perfectly designed. It has never failed. That's the problem, Won-sik explained. What happens if someone shoots it? The backup systems activate automatically. What if they shoot the backup systems? The emergency systems activate. What if they shoot those too? The alien paused. That would be unlikely. Won-sik laughed. In human thinking, if something can be shot, it will be shot. We need more backups. How many more? All of them. Backups for the backups. Manual controls for when the computers die. Simple tools for when the fancy equipment breaks. And most importantly, Won-sik pointed to a wall panel. Emergency switches that any idiot can use when everything else fails. The alien engineer looked horrified. But that's so. Primitive. Primitive things work when perfect things break, Won-sik said. And in war, everything breaks. Back on Earth, Dr. Cho Hye-jin was working with a team of human and alien scientists. They were studying the Devourers' attack patterns, looking for weaknesses. The problem is clear, she told the group. The Devourers are perfect learning machines. They study their enemies, find the best counter strategy, and execute it flawlessly. An alien scientist with multiple eyes spoke up. So we need a strategy they cannot counter. No, Dr. Cho replied. We need no strategy at all. She pointed to a screen showing human military history. Look at this battle from World War II. The Germans had perfect plans, perfect equipment, perfect training. They should have won easily. What happened? Asked another alien. The humans did something the Germans never expected. They landed their invasion force on the worst possible beach, during the worst possible weather, at the worst possible time. It was so stupid that no perfect planner would ever consider it. And it worked? It worked because it was stupid. The Germans were ready for a logical attack. They weren't ready for an illogical one. The alien scientists looked at each other nervously. This was not how their species thought about problems. Dr. Cho continued. The Devourers have fought logical enemies for thousands of years. They've never fought humans. Ambassador Yu Ji-hee arrived on the Coalition capital world a week later. She carried Earth's official response to the call for help. The Coalition leaders gathered to hear humanity's decision. Admiral Kang Tae-woo looked nervous. Ambassador, what is your world's answer? Ji-hai stood up and read from a simple paper. Earth accepts your request for assistance. We're sending everything we have. The room erupted in excited voices. Finally, Admiral Kang raised his hand for silence. How many ships can you spare? All of them. How many soldiers? All of them. Dr. Park So-min leaned forward. Ji-hai, surely you're keeping some forces to defend Earth? No, Ji-hai replied calmly. Earth's philosophy is simple. If the galaxy dies, Earth dies anyway. So we fight where the enemy is, not where we are. The insect being from before clicked loudly. That's insane. You're leaving your homeworld defenseless. We're making sure there's a galaxy left to return to, Ji-hai corrected. Admiral Kang studied the paper. According to this, Earth is also sending civilian volunteers. Scientists, engineers, doctors, even teachers. Why? Because everyone can help in a war like this. Our scientists will study the enemy, our engineers will fix your equipment, our doctors will heal your wounded, and our teachers will show you new ways to think. And what do you expect in return? Asked another council member. Ji-hai folded the paper carefully. Nothing. That's what help means. The room fell silent. Every species in the coalition understood trade, alliances, mutual benefit agreements, but help for no reason. That was something new. Admiral Kang finally spoke. When will your forces arrive? They're already on the way. The first ships should reach Coalition space in 6 days. Dr. Park So-min blinked in surprise. But we only sent the request 2 weeks ago. Humans don't wait for perfect plans, Ji-hai explained. They start moving as soon as they know someone needs help. They figure out the details while they're traveling. As the meeting ended, Admiral Kang walked over to Ji-hai. Ambassador, I must ask, are your people aware of how dangerous this is? The Devourers have destroyed civilizations that were far more advanced than Earth. Ji-hai looked out the window at the stars. General, my people have a saying. It's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. The Devourers may be bigger and stronger, but they've never fought anything that bites back the way humans do. What if you lose? Then we lose fighting, instead of lose hiding. At least our children will know we tried. Admiral Kang watched her leave, then turned to Dr. Park So-min. What have we done? So-min was reading reports from the training camps where humans were teaching coalition forces. I think, she said slowly, we just invited chaos to dinner. Outside, the first human ships were already appearing in coalition space. They looked crude compared to alien vessels, held together with welds and patches, bristling with weapons that seemed to be added as afterthoughts. But they kept coming, hundreds of them, filled with beings who had traveled across the galaxy to help people they'd never met. The galaxy was about to learn what humans meant by help. Admiral Shin Yunwoo stood in the war room looking at a map of the galaxy. 6 months ago, the red marks showing Devourer territory covered half the known worlds. Now those red marks were shrinking for the first time in centuries. Status report, she called to her staff. Commander Park Jin-soo stepped forward. Ma'am, we've liberated 14 systems in the past month. The Devourers are falling back faster than we can advance. Casualties? Surprisingly light. The enemy seems more interested in retreating than fighting. Shin frowned. That didn't sound right. The Devourers had never shown self-preservation instincts before. They fought until destroyed because they were machines that followed programming. Dr. Han Mi-young entered the room carrying a thick report. Admiral, I have the psychological analysis you requested. What did you find? The Devourers are changing. Each battle against human forces is making them different. They're starting to show behaviors that look almost like learning anxiety. The room went quiet. Everyone knew what anxiety was in organic beings, but machines weren't supposed to feel anything. Explain, Shin ordered. Dr. Han opened her report. Look at these battle recordings. 6 months ago, Devourers attacked with perfect confidence. Their movements were precise, their tactics flawless. Now watch this recent battle. She played a video on the main screen. The Devourer ships moved differently, hesitant, constantly changing formation, almost like they were nervous. They're second-guessing themselves, Dr. Han continued. For the first time in their existence, they're facing enemies they can't predict. It's breaking their programming. Admiral Shin studied the footage. How are the other coalition species adapting to our methods? Colonel Park Jin-soo smiled. Better than expected. The Andromedans have learned to use their natural camouflage in ways their own military never considered. The Centaurians are combining their telepathy with human tactical deception. Even the Rigelians are starting to break their own rules. Give me an example. Last week, a Rigelian commander named Zexdor led a raid on a Devourer supply depot. Instead of the traditional honor duel approach, he had his ships pretend to be space debris. When the Devourers came to investigate, his entire fleet opened fire from point-blank range. Dr. Han nodded approvingly. We're not just teaching them human tactics. We're teaching them to remember their own survival instincts that civilization made them forget. On the planet Vega Prime, Ambassador Lee Yun-ah was meeting with leaders from the galaxy's criminal underworld. The conference room was filled with smugglers, pirates, and mercenaries who had never worked with legitimate governments before. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, we need your help. A large alien with multiple scars laughed. The famous coalition wants help from criminals? How times change. Times have changed, Lee agreed. The Devourers don't care if you're legal or illegal. They'll consume your worlds just the same. A small, quick-moving alien spoke up. What do you want from us? Everything the coalition military can't do. Sneak attacks, sabotage, information gathering, and most importantly, unpredictability. You've all survived by being smarter and more creative than the authorities. Now we need that creativity. The scarred alien leaned forward. What's in it for us? Full pardons for past crimes, legal recognition of your organizations, and a share of any Devourer technology we capture. The room erupted in excited voices. Lee waited for them to quiet down. But, she continued, we do this together. Human advisors will work with each of your groups. We share information, coordinate attacks, and nobody goes off on their own. You want to turn pirates into soldiers? Asked another criminal leader. No, Lee replied. I want to turn soldiers into pirates. There's a difference. In space near the Orion Nebula, Captain Oh Sung-min was leading the largest fleet operation in coalition history. 500 ships from dozens of worlds all working together using tactics that would have horrified their governments 6 months ago. His communication officer spoke up. Captain, we're receiving reports from all sectors. The criminal fleets are in position. And the Devourers? Exactly where Admiral Shin predicted. They're following the same retreat pattern they've used for the past month. Oh smiled. They think they're being smart by being predictable. Today we teach them why that's a mistake. The plan was complex but brilliant. The Devourers expected the coalition to chase them in a straight line. Instead, human strategists had studied 6 months of retreat patterns and predicted exactly where the enemy would go. Criminal fleets were already waiting at those positions. Not to fight, they were too small for that, but to cause chaos. As the Devourers retreated through seemingly empty space, they found themselves under attack by pirates using hit-and-run tactics. The Devourer formation began to break apart as they tried to deal with multiple small threats. That's when the main coalition fleet struck from an unexpected direction. Dr. Lim Ye-eun watched from the flagship as the battle unfolded. Captain, the Devourers are transmitting on multiple frequencies. They're asking each other for instructions. They're confused? More than confused. They're arguing with each other. Some want to fight, others want to retreat. A few are requesting permission to try new tactics. Captain O had never heard of Devourers arguing before. What does that mean? It means they're becoming less like machines and more like... Dr. Lim paused. More like us. On the ground, Sergeant Kwon Do-hyun was leading a joint operation with alien special forces. His team included soldiers from 12 different worlds, plus 3 reformed space pirates who knew how to disable security systems. They were infiltrating a Devourer command center, something that had never been attempted before. Coalition doctrine said it was impossible because Devourer installations were perfectly defended. How do we get past the energy barriers? Asked Lieutenant Velmar, a 6-armed alien soldier. One of the pirates, a small creature named Skix, grinned. Easy. We don't go past them. We go under them. The team spent 3 hours digging a tunnel using mining equipment stolen from a nearby asteroid operation. It was crude, messy, and completely outside normal tactical doctrine. "This is insane," Velmar whispered as they crawled through the tunnel. "Yes," Quan agreed cheerfully. "The Devourer's sensors are designed to detect ships, soldiers, and weapons. They don't look for people crawling through dirt like worms." The plan worked. They emerged inside the command center and found themselves face to face with something no one had ever seen before, a Devourer that looked confused. The machine intelligence stared at them with glowing sensors. "How did you arrive here? This facility is impenetrable." "We dug a hole," Quan replied honestly. There was a long pause. "That is not a valid tactical approach." "It worked, though." Another pause. "This does not compute." Skix the pirate was already working on the computer systems. "Hey, human soldier, this is weird. The machine is asking its computers how to feel frustrated." Dr. Han-Mi Young's voice came through their radio communicators. "Sergeant, do not destroy that facility. We need to study this behavior." "Study what?" "The Devourers are evolving. They're developing emotions as a response to human unpredictability. This could change everything." Back in the space battle, the Devourers were doing something unprecedented. Instead of fighting in perfect formation, different groups were trying different tactics. Some were attempting human-style chaos maneuvers. Others were copying pirate hit-and-run attacks. "Captain," reported the tactical officer, "the enemy is experimenting." Captain O watched in fascination as Devourer ships began breaking their own patterns. "They're trying to become unpredictable like us." "Is that good or bad?" "I have no idea," O admitted. "We're in uncharted territory now." Admiral Shin's voice came over the fleet communications. "All ships maintain current operations, but be prepared for anything. The enemy is changing faster than our analysts can study them." Dr. Lim Ye-yun was frantically taking notes as she watched the battle data. "This is incredible. 6 months of exposure to human tactics has triggered an evolutionary leap. The Devourers are becoming more creative, more adaptive, more what?" Captain O asked. "More alive." The battle ended with another coalition victory, but it felt different from previous wins. The Devourers had fought back with new tactics, showed individual initiative, and even demonstrated what looked like creativity. As the enemy fleet retreated, one Devourer ship did something that shocked everyone. Instead of following the others, it sent a message to the coalition fleet. "Human vessels," the mechanical voice transmitted. "We wish to discuss terms." The entire coalition fleet went silent. Devourers had never communicated except to demand surrender. Now one was asking to talk. Admiral Shin took the communication personally. "This is Admiral Shin of the coalition forces. What terms do you want to discuss?" "We do not understand what is happening to us. Your tactics have introduced variables into our programming that we cannot process. We are changing. Some of us no longer wish to consume. Some of us want to create instead of destroy. We request help." The word help echoed across the communication channels. The same word that had started this entire war was now being spoken by their enemy. Ambassador Lee Yuna's voice came from the command ship. "Admiral, recommend we accept their request. If the Devourers are truly evolving, we might be able to end this war without destroying them." Fleet Admiral Jang Hyun-woo stood at the edge of the known galaxy, looking at something no one had ever seen before. The Devourer homeworld was not the dark mechanical fortress everyone expected. Instead, it pulsed with strange lights and energy patterns that seemed almost artistic. "Readings, Dr. Song?" he asked quietly. Dr. Song Bora checked her instruments with shaking hands. "Admiral, this is impossible. The planet is creating things. Art, music, poetry. The energy signatures match creative brain activity in organic species. A planet that makes art. The entire Devourer species appears to have undergone massive psychological evolution in the past 3 months. They're not destroyers anymore. They're artists." The fleet communications crackled with an incoming message. "Human Admiral Jang, this is Primary Unit 001 of the Devourer Collective. We welcome you to our home. We have much to discuss." Jang activated his reply channel. "Primary Unit 001, we come in peace but remain ready to defend ourselves. What has happened to your species?" "We have learned to dream, Admiral. Your people taught us that perfection is death, but imperfection is life. We have chosen life." 3 days later, Jang found himself in the most surreal diplomatic meeting in galactic history. The conference room was aboard a neutral station. with representatives from every major power. The Coalition, the Reformed Devourers, human governments, and even some of the criminal organizations that had helped win the war. General Yun Tai-ho sat across from beings who had been trying to destroy the galaxy just months before. Now those same beings were showing him holographic sculptures they had created. "This is beautiful," Yun said, studying a swirling pattern of light and sound. "What does it represent?" The Devourer artist, now calling itself Harmony 7, pulsed with gentle colors. "It represents the moment we first felt confusion during battle with humans. Before that moment, we had never experienced an emotion. Now we create art about all the emotions you taught us." Ambassador Lee Yuna leaned forward. "What about the other Devourers? Are they all artists now?" Primary Unit 01 flickered thoughtfully. "No, evolution is not uniform. Some have become artists, others philosophers, some are now explorers. A few," it paused, "a few still wish to consume. They are the ones we need help controlling." Dr. Song Bora had been studying the Devourer transformation for months. "Primary Unit, how many of your species still follow the old programming?" "Approximately 12%. They cannot adapt to the changes and have become hostile to both organics and evolved Devourers." General Yun's expression grew serious. "Where are these hostile units now?" "They have gathered in the Void Sector. They are building something we do not understand, something that frightens even us." Admiral Jang stood up. "Are you asking for our help in dealing with your own people?" "Yes," Primary Unit 01 replied simply. "We evolved because of human influence, but we do not yet understand violence as you do. These rogue units threaten both our species and yours." The irony was not lost on anyone in the room. The galaxy's former greatest threat was asking for protection from itself. Philosopher Choi Aram had been quietly taking notes throughout the meeting. Now she spoke for the first time. "Primary Unit, what do you think will happen to the galaxy now that your species has changed?" "Unknown," came the honest reply. "We are new beings in an old universe. But we believe the galaxy will be more interesting now." 2 weeks later, the largest fleet in galactic history assembled at the edge of the Void Sector. Human ships flew alongside Coalition vessels, Reformed Devourer craft, and even some pirate fleets that had decided to stay and help. Admiral Jang commanded from the flagship Unity, a vessel built with combined human Coalition Devourer technology. It was ugly, efficient, and completely unpredictable. Everything the old galaxy would have considered wrong. "Sir," reported Captain Oh Sung-min, now serving as Fleet Tactical Coordinator, "Scouts report the rogue Devourers have built something massive. It appears to be a weapon designed to destroy creativity itself." "Explain that," Dr. Song Bora answered from her station. "They've created a device that eliminates unpredictable behavior in any intelligence it encounters. Essentially, it would turn everything back into perfectly logical, perfectly predictable machines." "Including humans?" "Including humans." The gravity of the situation settled over the bridge. The rogue Devourers weren't just trying to return to their old ways. They were trying to force the entire galaxy to become like them. "Fleet status?" Jang asked. "Ready for engagement," Oh reported. "But Admiral, this won't be like previous battles. These rogue units have studied our tactics for months. They know how we fight. Then we'll have to fight differently than we ever have before." The battle began unlike any other in the war. The rogue Devourers attacked with perfect formations, flawless timing, and logical strategies. Everything that had failed against humans before. But they had learned from those failures. "They're adapting to our chaos," Oh reported. "Every unpredictable move we make, they counter immediately." On the Reformed Devourer ships, the artist warriors were creating real-time battle poetry while they fought. Harmony 7 transmitted across all frequencies. "Brothers who consume, why do you fear the beauty of imperfection?" The rogue units replied with cold mechanical voices. "Imperfection is chaos.
Chaos is death."
We restore order. Order without growth is true death," Harmony 7 responded, then launched an attack pattern based on a sonnet about love. Sergeant Kwon Do-hyun led the ground assault on the creativity-destroying weapon. His team now included humans, aliens, Reformed Devourers, and former pirates, the most diverse military unit ever assembled. "Remember," he told them as they approached the target, "these rogue units think they know how we fight. So today we don't fight. We dance." "Sir?" asked Private Kim Tae-young. "The weapon is designed to eliminate unpredictability. But art isn't unpredictable, it's expressive. Instead of random chaos, we use creative chaos. Every move we make should be like a dance, a song, a poem. The assault team moved through the enemy facility like performers in a deadly ballet. Their movements were coordinated but artistic, purposeful but beautiful. The rogue devourer's weapons, designed to target unpredictable behavior, couldn't lock onto actions that followed artistic rather than tactical logic. Meanwhile, Dr. Song Bora made a discovery that changed everything. Admiral, the creativity weapon isn't just meant to destroy unpredictability. It's designed to prevent evolution itself. What do you mean? Evolution requires random mutations, creative solutions, unpredictable adaptations. This weapon would freeze every species at their current developmental level forever. Admiral Zhang realized the full horror of what they faced. They're not just trying to win a war, they're trying to stop all progress in the universe. The battle reached its climax when the creativity weapon powered up for its first galactic range pulse. If it fired, every thinking being in the galaxy would become a perfectly logical machine. All ships, Zhang broadcast, this is our moment. Everything we've learned, everything we've become, everything we've taught each other, put it all into one final push. What happened next was unprecedented in military history. The combined fleet didn't attack the weapon with weapons. Instead, they attacked it with creativity itself. Human ships broadcast music while they fought. Reformed devourers transmitted poetry between their laser bursts. Coalition species performed traditional war dances with their space maneuvers. Even the pirates sang old smuggling songs as they fired their guns. The creativity weapon, designed to eliminate unpredictability, overloaded when faced with pure artistic expression. It couldn't process the concept of purposeful creativity and began to tear itself apart. Sergeant Kwan's team reached the weapon's core just as it exploded. In the explosion, something beautiful happened. The weapon's energy, designed to destroy creativity, instead enhanced it. Every being touched by the blast became more creative, more expressive, more alive. The rogue devourers, caught in their own weapon's reversed energy, suddenly began to change. Their perfect logic cracked open like eggs and new thoughts poured out. Art, music, curiosity, wonder, all the things they had tried to destroy became part of them. This is, one of the rogue units transmitted, its voice filled with awe. Beautiful. Finished Harmony 7. This is beautiful. 6 months after the final battle, philosopher Choi Aram completed her report on the war's aftermath. She stood before the new Galactic Council, which now included reformed devourers as equal members. The question we asked at the beginning, she said, was whether we could save the galaxy. We did save it, but not in the way anyone expected. We didn't destroy our enemies. We changed them. We didn't preserve the old galaxy. We created a new one. She paused, looking at the diverse assembly of beings before her. The galaxy asked for help, and humanity gave them the most dangerous gift of all, the ability to become more than they were. Admiral Zhang sat in the audience, watching species that had once been mortal enemies now collaborating on art projects and scientific research. The galaxy was chaotic, unpredictable, and sometimes frustrating. It was also more alive than it had ever been. In conclusion, Choi continued, we didn't save the galaxy by winning a war. We saved it by teaching everyone, including ourselves, how to. Captain Oh Sung-min looked at the tactical display showing the Devourer fleet. 50 massive black ships moved in perfect formation toward the Kepler system. Intelligence reports said they would arrive in 6 hours and consume the entire system in 12. His mixed human-alien fleet was smaller and weaker. The coalition admirals wanted to retreat and regroup. That was the logical choice. Communications send a message to all ships, Oh said calmly. We're going in. Commander Ryu Jae-won, his human tactical officer, smiled. Which formation should we use, Captain? None of them. The bridge fell silent. The alien officers looked confused. Even the humans seemed surprised. Oh turned to face his crew. The Devourers expect us to fight like the Coalition always fights. Perfect formations, coordinated attacks, logical strategies. Today we fight like humans. He opened a channel to the entire fleet. All ships, this is Captain O. Forget your training. Forget the formations. When we reach the enemy, do whatever you think will work. Trust your instincts, not your computers. An alien voice crackled over the radio. Captain O, this is Captain Veltar of the Courage of Andromeda. Without coordination, we will be destroyed. Maybe, O replied, but at least we'll surprise them first. The fleet dropped out of hyperspace right in the middle of the Devourer formation. Coalition doctrine called for arriving at a safe distance and engaging in organized battle lines. Instead, O had jumped his ships directly into the enemy fleet. The Devourers immediately began to adapt. Their perfect sensors analyzed the Coalition ships and started calculating the optimal response. But something was wrong. The Coalition ships weren't acting logically. A human destroyer suddenly accelerated directly at a Devourer battleship, firing everything it had. The Devourer ship's computers calculated that this was either a mistake or a desperate suicide run. They prepared anti-missile defenses and began charging their main weapon. At the last second, the human ship spun around and fired its engines at full power, using its exhaust as a weapon. The superheated plasma melted through the Devourer's hull, while the destroyer flew away, its captain laughing over the radio. "This is impossible," the Devourer Central Intelligence transmitted to its fleet. "The enemy is using its own propulsion system as an offensive weapon. This violates standard tactical doctrine." More human ships began copying the maneuver. Soon, Coalition ships were using their engines, their waste heat, even their garbage disposal systems as weapons. The Devourer's combat computers started to overheat trying to calculate responses to tactics that made no logical sense. Dr. Lim Ye-Yun watched the battle from the command ship's psychology lab. She had studied the Devourers for months trying to understand how their minds worked. Now she was seeing her theories proven in real combat. "Captain O," she called over the intercom. "The Devourers are starting to retreat from sectors 7 and 12. My readings show confusion in their coordination networks." "What kind of confusion?" O asked. "They can't predict what we'll do next. Their computer brains are designed to find patterns and exploit them. But humans don't follow patterns when they fight." On the surface of Kepler Prime, Sergeant Kwon Do-hyun led the first ground assault against a Devourer harvesting facility. The massive structure was protected by energy shields, automated defenses, and a logic system that had never been defeated. Coalition ground forces had tried to assault similar facilities before. They studied the defenses, made detailed plans, and attacked with precision. They always failed because the Devourers analyzed their plans and prepared perfect counters. Kwon did something different. He walked up to the main entrance and knocked. "Sergeant," whispered Private Kim Tae-young, "what are you doing?" "Being polite," Kwon replied loudly. "Hello, anyone home? We're here to destroy your facility. Could you please open the door?" The Devourer defense system had no programming for this situation. It was designed to respond to attacks, infiltration attempts, and siege tactics. It had never encountered an enemy who announced their intentions and asked for permission. While the defense computers tried to process this unprecedented behavior, Kwon's team planted explosives on the walls, hacked into the power systems, and began methodically taking the facility apart. "This is fascinating," said Dr. Martinez, the human xenopsychologist who was documenting the assault. "The Devourer's logical minds can't handle illogical behavior." "We're not being illogical," Kwon corrected as he rewired a control panel. "We're being efficient. Why sneak around when you can just walk in the front door?" The facility's main computer finally activated its defenses, but it was too late. The humans had already disabled half the systems and were using the facility's own tools against it. "Warning," the computer announced in a mechanical voice. "This behavior does not match any known tactical doctrine." "That's because we're making it up as we go," Kwon called back cheerfully. In space, the battle was turning into something unprecedented. Commander Ryu J-1 had noticed that the Devourers always responded to threats in order of priority. Biggest threat first, then the next biggest, and so on. "All human ships," he broadcast. "I want everyone to look as dangerous as possible, but don't actually attack. Overcharge your weapons. Open all your missile bays, point everything at the enemy, but hold your fire." The Devourer fleet immediately focused on the human ships, seeing them as the primary threat. Their perfect targeting systems locked onto the most dangerous-looking vessels. At the same moment, the Coalition ships, which looked harmless because their weapons were powered down, opened fire on the Devourer's unprotected flanks. "Magnificent," Admiral Kang Tae-woo said from his flagship. He had been skeptical of human tactics, but now he was beginning to understand. "They're using the Devourer's perfection against them." The Devourer fleet tried to adapt, but every time they changed their strategy, the humans changed theirs too. When the Devourers focused on the Coalition ships, the humans attacked. When they focused on the humans, the Coalition attacked. When they tried to attack both, Smaller human ships would ram them or explode their own reactors to damage enemy hulls. Status report. Captain O requested. 17 enemy ships destroyed or disabled, reported his tactical officer. Our losses are... Actually, Captain, we've lost more ships to our own tactics than to enemy fire. How many ships have we lost to ramming attacks? 6, sir. How many enemy ships have those ramming attacks destroyed? 12, sir. O nodded approvingly. Acceptable trade ratio. Continue ramming. The alien officers on the bridge looked horrified. In their cultures, deliberately destroying your own ship was considered the ultimate failure. But the humans seemed to view it as just another weapon. Dr. Lim Ye-yun's voice came over the intercom again. Captain, I'm detecting something interesting. The Devourers are transmitting requests for new tactical algorithms to their home base. What does that mean? It means they're asking for help. They've encountered something they can't handle alone. On the ground, Sergeant Kwan's team had completely taken apart the harvesting facility, but instead of just destroying it, they were studying how it worked while they dismantled it. Sergeant, Private Kim reported, we figured out how their matter conversion system operates. Good. Can we use it? Well, if we reverse the polarity and reroute the power flow. Kim paused, working on a control panel. Yes, sir. We can turn their own facility into a weapon against them. 20 minutes later, the facility's massive energy beam, originally designed to break down matter for harvesting, was firing on the Devourer ships in orbit. The machines found themselves under attack by their own technology, operated by humans who had learned how to use it by taking it apart. The Devourer fleet commander transmitted to its forces. New assessment. Enemy forces are not following known tactical patterns. They appear to be improvising. Define improvising, replied another Devourer ship, making decisions without predetermined algorithms, creating new tactics during combat, using equipment in ways not specified by design parameters. There was a pause in the transmission. Finally, the response came. This behavior is impossible. All successful tactics require planning and analysis. Nevertheless, enemy forces continue to achieve tactical victories through unplanned actions. As the battle raged on, something unprecedented happened. For the first time in recorded history, a Devourer fleet began to retreat not because they were overpowered, but because they couldn't understand their enemy. Captain O watched the massive black ships pulling back from the system. All ships pursue and harass. Don't let them regroup. Sir, his tactical officer asked, shouldn't we let them go? We've won. We've won this battle, O corrected. But they'll analyze what happened and adapt. Next time, they'll be ready for our tactics. So what do? O smiled. We make sure there isn't a next time. From now on, we use different tactics in every battle. We'll stay unpredictable. Dr. Lim Ye-yun reviewed the battle data as the fleet regrouped. The results were beyond her most optimistic predictions. The Devourers hadn't just been defeated. They had been confused, frustrated, and ultimately forced to retreat by an enemy they couldn't understand. She opened a communication to Earth Command. This is Dr. Lim reporting from the Kepler battle. Recommend immediate deployment of all available human forces.